Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes. You are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is Ordered. He is Mr. Logical. I am 2-5. We got a lot to get into tonight. Not only is the coaching carousel going crazy, but a coach that some people say is the greatest coach in NFL history couldn't even get into the Hall of Fame. Then, of course, we got reaction to the AFC Championship game, some early Super Bowl thoughts, some NBA talk for you, and then Deion Sanders finding the players. Woo, boy, I tell you what. But like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things with a liquid death in your hand. Check out Say Less, Say More. We're everywhere you get your podcast. Let's get right into it, Mr. Logical. So, Jared Stidham started the other day.
Yeah.
And, after about, 5-6 minutes, I was like, okay, we got us a game here at Mile High. And then the apocalyptic weather took over.
It was crazy.
Denver's offense went night-night. You know what I'm saying? What you got for us, man?
He has a lot of years in the league, so I'm pretty sure he's watched a lot of film. He sat in the room with, great quarterbacks. For what I don't, always talk about Sean Payton. He's a good offensive-minded coach. He's sat in the room with these guys for a long time. So I figured early in the game, he was going to make the right throws. They were going to get him in these play-action rollouts, hit the tight end. The goal that he threw past Christian Gonzalez, the safety was looking inside for some reason, and Christian Gonzalez was like, oh, I got safety help over top. Guy was looking completely the wrong way, taking a crosser. So he got the one pass off. I just knew that at some point, because you just don't have that many reps, a mistake was going to be made. Like that, the backwards pass that was grounding, then it was changed to a backwards pass. They had a lot of help without a lot of challenge flags being thrown. I just noticed that was a lot of input came in from outside of the.
So you do think that was an incomplete pass?
I thought.
Because I'm still. You could tell me either one.
Yeah, I don't know if the hit made the ball go backwards or if the throw went backwards and he got hit.
Because he tried to two-hand it.
Yeah, he tried to chest pass it classic 1950s
like Kevin Love
high school basketball pass. But when he let it go, he was being contacted at the same time. But even with that, it's like in that point, just take the sack. I mean, it's like you weren't in, but not like you were in field goal range.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, just lay it down, just take the sack. But that's what I'm saying. So it's like not having all the reps that he that was his first snaps all season. Like he didn't get any bop up duty. So it's like I just knew that mistake was gonna come. And once it happened, it was like, okay, that was all they needed. The New England defensive line was relentless. Drake May did not have a banner championship game. He threw for 86 yards. That's going to be tough because he hasn't played great offensively in any of their playoff games, especially the last two. The game against Houston, where he kept fumbling the ball away. And this one, he just was unable to make plays. He's averaged like 250, 260 yards a game on the season. And to come out of the playoffs and not be anywhere close to that, that's alarming considering that they're going to go on and play the best defense in the league. But that same best defense does seem to get beat when they play Matthew Stafford. So maybe you just watch the 3 Rams games and figure out like what were they able to do. But all in all, it's like I figured it was inevitable that the backup quarterback was gonna not be able to pull it off. It's just not a position that you want to be in as a team.
Well, to be fair, Drake May, the Patriots did play against 3 of the top 5 defenses in this playoff run. So I know a lot of people are talking about how easy of a playoff run they had.
But it only gets tougher. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it only gets tougher. But
they're playing the toughest defense next. So it's like,
it's like their ACC team about to match up with that mighty perceived SEC team, But yeah, 3 top 5 defenses, and then, the quarterback situations were favorable for the Patriots, though, because, you had Justin Herbert, and we talked about his playoff struggles. And of course, with the offensive line, the condition of that going into that game. CJ Stroud, I don't know what's happened to him. And then, of course, this backup quarterback. But, so as soon as it snowed, I knew the game was over, because what we've been talking about all year is the lack of run game that Denver has. And we talked about it in the preview as well. Ever since J.K. Dobbins got hurt, they just have been non-existent in the backfield. So once I saw the weather change, I knew it was over. But also it goes back to something that you always say. Sean Payton could have took the points, and we at least looking at an overtime game.
I saw a quote that he, feels like he's second guessing himself now for not taking the points. But just in a game with the backup and a defense is playing the way that they're playing, I think you take the points. I think points stress the other team out. Points you score points on any drive. That creates a conversation on the sideline for the defense, the defensive players, defensive coordinator, and maybe even a coach has to step in. There's adjustments that need to be made. There's maybe somebody calling someone out. We saw in the Seattle game over the taunting call where they kind of got into it. So, but when you get stopped, now it's just momentum on the sideline. Everybody's hype. Offense coming on the field hype. Defense going off the field hype. No one's looking at how they got into the position to score. They're just looking at the fact that you held your ground. So I think when you put points up, you put that pause in. They got to go to commercial break. They got to sit there. Other teams, I think it just puts a little bit more pressure. And now you completed a drive. When your guy comes to the sideline, you talk about, hey, this is how we did that. This was a good play here. This was a good decision here. Hey, I like this play call. I like this matchup. I just feel like there's more to gain from getting the points besides just the ball going through the uprights. I think there's more of a psychological advantage you get, but you can't give the momentum away by just not taking points.
Yeah, Denver's got to be kicking themselves, but New England, to your point, they've only averaged 18 points in the playoffs as a whole. Drake May now is the second youngest quarterback to ever play in a Super Bowl behind Dan Marino. So that's something to take with you. And back to my conversation about, hey, can the Patriots win besides Tom Brady? So let me ask you, Mr. Logical.
Listen.
Brady's gone. Belichick's gone. You still got that hate in your heart?
Just the thing, I've always liked New England. Like I dislike the way the Falcons ended the game. I don't think it was I don't think New England did anything abnormal. They didn't get away with anything egregious. They didn't get away with the drop pass that was called a reception. They didn't get away with a missed, face mask. Atlanta just gave them too many opportunities on both sides of the ball, and they took advantage of it. But I remember when Tom Brady played the Rams back when I was stationed in Germany in 102. There was a guy from St. Louis. He was
you got kicked out.
Bet. Yeah, he kicked me at the house. He kicked us all at the house because he took so many bets. And when the field goal went through, so I've always been I've always liked the Patriots because they've only knocked my team out of playoffs one time. Granted, it was the Super Bowl and it was 9 years ago. So before that, I had no reason to dislike them. They were in the AFC. They were doing their thing. It's they weren't affecting Atlanta's prosperity at all.
I dislike them. I hate them, Sam. Not so much now because I think Brady and Belichick are gone, and that's probably tempered it down some. But I just hate when you see greatness and it's like, no. I don't hate greatness. I hate when you see greatness and it still gets aided. You know what I mean? Like I always talked about this with LeBron back in the day, where it's already hard for me to guard this dude. He's gonna put up 30 on me.
How you gonna give me
and
all
now
6
you
of my fouls in the first half? Yeah.
yeah.
I need all 6 of these to guard this guy. Like,
and that's how it
let me
was with
knock
the
him down to
Patriots.
get a foul call. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know Rez was talking about the Indiana-Miami game and how he felt all the 50-50 calls went Indiana's way. Like, the Patriots got 50-50 calls, and they got like 595 calls. You know what I mean? They were just getting, if there was a call to be made, it was going in New England's favor. You know what I mean? So I actually do like this rendition of the Patriots just because of the youth. And I'm a Mike Vrabel guy anyway, but so I like this version of the Patriots, but I wasn't ready for them to make the Super Bowl yet.
I remember, like, because towards the beginning of the season, I was watching a lot of First Things First. And then they started getting a little bit monotonous. And I was like, you know what? I got my show. I got Mike. I can talk to Mike about sports all day. You and Chris talk all day. And it just was like, all right, the TV was kind of just getting like, all right, I don't know how many times I can talk about the Cowboys, the Lakers, and whatever arbitrary thing Stephen A. Smith might have said on another channel. So, but at the beginning of the year, Kevin Wildes, who's a Patriot fan, he was hinting at them like making a Super Bowl run. And then after like 5 or 6 weeks, their record was kind of looking on par with other teams. But I'm not sure if a betting man really went into a casino and say, you know what, I'm putting $1,000 on New England, Seattle Super Bowl matchup, considering Sam Darnold. They just moved off of Geno. They had the new coach. They moved off of Geno, and Sam Darnold had, tumultuous history between the Jets and the Panthers, and sort of a bit of a resurgence with the 49ers. And then he had the great stretch with Minnesota, but that still could have been attributed to Kevin O'Connell. And then he goes to Seattle, and I think he's the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to win 14 games in back-to-back seasons with 2 different teams. So, like I said, I like Seattle's shot. I like the fact that New England made it. I'm with it. I don't think we were getting Kansas City fatigue, but it is refreshing to see like the young quarterback actually pull through, because they're getting a really bad rap. Like, I bang on Mike Penix all the time, pause, because I don't think that they're developing him right, and I don't think he's making the right plays. So it's good to see a guy in his second year.
Right. So
it seems like I'm lying.
Yeah, so let's pivot, over to the NFC, where Sam Darnold led the Seattle Seahawks to a big win over the Rams, and like, it's crazy because, all year I've been talking about, how many 200-yard games does Bryce Young have? So when I was looking at Sam Darnold going into that game the other day, he only had 2 games this season where he threw for 300 yards. And then, lo and behold, he throws for 346, which is his season high now, so he saved his best for last. And, and I was nervous going into that game with the oblique injury, going up against that defensive line. But Charles Cross did a good job on Jarrett Verse, but this is what I wanted to ask you. Should Sean McVay have taken the points, or should he have gone for 2 when Devontae Adams scored that touchdown?
I was in and out, and I missed the touchdown. I don't think so. Going for 2 would have put them
31-28.
31-28. Yeah. In hindsight, that was after the taunting call. No, Puka got the touchdown.
No, Puka got the touchdown after the touchdown. And he went right back at Woolen, too. That was the crazy part about it. Like, he went right to him.
Because, he wasn't focused.
Hit him with that double move, and,
They probably should have went for 2.
Yeah.
But maybe they were thinking, like, if they're at 4, they hold Seattle to a field goal. They're only down 7. But in hindsight, he probably should have gone for 2. I don't think the game.
McVay was just odd in general because even after that Cooper Cup play, he called the timeout, and I was like, "Is he going to challenge?" You know what I mean? Like, I think it was the right call, but you know what I mean. But I was like, he called the timeout. Is he going to challenge? Like, what's going on here? Maybe he was like hoping that the booth would just do it for him. I don't know, but you ended up needing that timeout.
Yeah, I like the. I mean, Seattle they just made timely plays. I get it when you're in that moment, you don't want to hold anything back. But sometimes you might have to be a little bit more conservative. I just thought Seattle was controlling the ground game. They were kind of getting whatever they want with Walker's very patient runner, a little bit like Le'Veon Bell, but not like completely stopping, but very patient, hitting the holes, very tough to bring down. He was when he was running the ball, and I was like, a couple times he broke through. I'm like, you better put that other arm across that wrist, lock that ball in. And he did, because the worst thing to do, you break for a 13, 14-yard run and somebody comes punches out from behind. I think Sam Darnold, I always think about this every time I watch any NFL game, whether it's Puka, whether it's Jefferson, Chase, in crucial moments, 3rd and 7 inside the 15, 4th and 2 from the 5. Like, how does Smith and Jigba end up wide open in the end zone? Like, in that situation, I get it. It might make you a little bit more predictable, but I'm not handing that off through the zone. Like, because that's what happened. That's how Sam Darnold hit him early for that touchdown.
I think that's the value of having a guy like Clint Kubiak.
It's just like they passed it off, and it's like, listen, no respect to Cooper Kupp, but I'll pass him through the zone. Yes, he's a great receiver still, but I'm not letting the favorite target, the guy who was tops in yards and receptions all year long, have a free. He gets zero space at all, and he was literally standing in the end zone by himself. And it's like you think about it, it's like, how are these guys who are your focal point in your passing defense get wide open? But I think
it's just like we were.
It wasn't even like a crazy route. He just like slipped through and they handed off. He just was like.
Well, it's like when we were talking about Denver, like how we've been talking about their running game, their lack of running game all year. I've been talking all year about the Rams secondary and how weak it is, and how if the Rams don't get home, this is what you get. And then last week or 2 weeks ago, you were talking about Durant and how the Bears picked on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he got
like,
picked on, then he got picked on against the Bears. Yeah. I mean, it's feast or famine. He made some good plays. He made good plays.
The Rams corners
and in the Seattle game.
The Rams corners aren't very. I don't know if athletic is the right word. They're like they make all their plays gambling.
They're
gambling.
Physical,
they gamble like Allen Iverson, right? We like, you talk about Allen Iverson, like, damn, he's a good defender. He got all these steals, and it's like, no, he just knows how to play the lane and where to be and where the ball's going to go. And that's how these guys are. They just jump routes, and and that's why they can get picked on, because they look to jump inside, and you can hit them with a double move, you can hit them with a sluggo, and they're still here, trying to look at the ball. So I think that's where they get in trouble. And if Verse and those guys don't get home, what I'm saying? Obviously, any secondary, right? Like,
JCN's wide open, or JSN is wide open in the corner of the end zone. And I thought Sam Darnold handled the pocket well. I don't know. I was impressed. You feel for Stafford, because I do believe he will be voted the MVP, and he had an MVP-like performance. It's just you come up a play or two short offensively or defensively, and that's the ball game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the nature of the beast. But they have nothing to hang their head down. I think they had a great season. Once again, we had them left for dead 2 years ago. Like, I think we had them 4-13. He was retiring, and McVay was going to Fox or CBS to be a color commentator next to Tom Brady and Tony Romo. But ever since then, I think they've won like 30 games since we made that statement. So
yeah, and and last year, they were this close to knocking off Philly in that snow game. You know what I mean? And here we are. They were
Jalen Carter gets blocked a little bit better, and Puka Nacua scores a game-winning touchdown because he was wide open in the seam, and they were because of the snow. It's hard to cover a wide receiver who's locked in with his quarterback the way Puka has been for the last 2 years. I think if Jalen gets blocked a little bit more, or if even if Stafford could slide a little bit to avoid it, they give up that touchdown.
So what about those early Super Bowl thoughts?
Like I said, I like the rematch. I immediately opened my phone and I started seeing the replay of the slant that was intercepted.
The greatest defensive play in Super Bowl history.
I've never jumped off of my couch for a play before. And I remember I was sitting on my couch. I can remember what I was wearing. I was wearing like gray t-shirts, some jeans, some red Barclays. And I was just sitting on my couch. Normally you go like a Super Bowl party. I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like dealing with the traffic. I'm here. My TV's here. Verizon's hooked up. I'm staying here. And I was sitting there thinking like, damn, Tom did everything he could. And I was thinking about the conversations people were going to have, like, oh, you can't win the big one anymore, and you hadn't won in 11 years. And I was all this, I was just kind of thinking of in my head. And the play gets called, and it gets picked. I just jumped up off my couch, like I was amazed. So seeing that replay for the next 2 weeks is going to be hilarious. I still think, and I argued it to the end of my days, that was a good play call.
Well, I'm done talking about that play call, but but no, I am interested to see, Josh McDaniels will have a little more time. So it's going to be interesting to see how they try to attack Seattle, because I don't know if Ramondre Stevenson is going to be able to establish the run. This might be a Henderson game, and, just to get some speed on the field. And then as far as the defensive side of the ball, can Seattle keep up? Because earlier in the season, the run game was a weakness. And over the last, I'd say 6 to 8 weeks, like they've been physical up front and just pounding it on people. So I just don't know if the Patriots, like, I think Seattle can put them in a vice grip, and you know what I mean? And we'll see if they can wiggle their way out.
Seattle can make New England one-dimensional, and then subsequently that one dimension will make New England vulnerable. Because
and Drake May is in his second year.
You can make Denver like one-dimensional with Bo Nix.
Right.
And they get to throw it all over the place, and it could work. You can make certain teams kind of one-dimensional. You could do it with the Rams. The Rams could be one-dimensional because they'll just throw a screen pass to the running back, get the ball in his hands anyway. So he'll call 10 passes. 9 out of 10 plays could be pass plays with the Rams. And it's not like you taking them out of their zone. I think New England, you could put them in a situation where Drake May's either scrambling to try to get yards, but like he sealed the game with a scramble. Like, it was a good play action, like a naked bootleg call. But I think if you stuff the run, and like I said, he's been playing some of the toughest defenses.
Yeah, and I think he improvised that bootleg too. That wasn't the call. I think he just did that on his own. I don't know why it wouldn't
be the call. Like I remember Tony Romo like praising like how gutsy the call was. I was like, dog, that's the only call in the snow. That's the only call you need to make in that situation.
Just think they go conservative. I think you just think they go conservative, and then Denver gets the ball back again. I mean, it was, but I mean, I think it took guts to trust a young quarterback in that moment. You know what I mean? Granted, he didn't have to throw the ball across the middle or anything like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think there was a pass play out of that. I think that was straight up hard play action to the right. Turn your head back around and just go, because now you got a linebacker standing in snow who has to adjust. Even with that amount of speed, if I know I'm holding on to this ball, he can short choppy steps. Remember, basically short choppy steps, and get turned around and just make a beeline for the pylon. That's why he didn't try to slide. It was, I think it was like deliberately, like, listen, you're gonna turn and run straight for the first down marker. Get out of bounds. We'll stop the clock. So I think that was the play call. Unless they said something different. I don't think it was that gutsy. I think it was
shout out to that Denver defense, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, they did, give it their all and damn near got it done. So, Mr. Logical, We got a new coach up in the Steel City. Mr. Mike McCarthy back off the couch. You know what I'm saying? I guess that means Aaron Rodgers is staying?
Nah, Aaron Rodgers is out.
Oh, is that what that means?
He's out. Absolutely is out.
Well, what do you think of the hire itself? Like, because I mean, Mike McCarthy in my eyes is a good coach. Like when you look at the record and all that stuff, it's not that dissimilar from Mike Tomlin, but obviously I don't think that he can galvanize the way that Mike Tomlin does. But what do you think of the hire? You giving it a good grade, bad grade?
I like the hire because it's Pittsburgh, and I know they'll give him the full length of his contract to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
He's from that area. They're still a good team. Their division is somewhat fledgling at best and flailing. So I think
Ravens still don't have an offensive coordinator.
I think there's opportunity for the team to still succeed. You got to get the quarterback right. I don't know how they do that. I don't know if they address it in the draft. I don't know if they move up because once again, making the playoffs, you're picking at 22, 24, somewhere in that range. So I'm not sure if, and then so many guys getting NIL money and staying, it's like you're not even like getting a developmental guy because the guys that could be first round draft picks and were on, some of these pundits big boards decide to go back to school for $5, $6, $8, $10 million.
Right.
So it's tough to see where you're going to get your quarterback play from. And if you're Pittsburgh, you can't do it again. We saw what happened with Indy where you just keep bringing in another quarterback. You got to get some stability there. So I think that's the only problem. As far as the hire, I think the hire is perfectly fine. People are saying it's like getting, like that. They were showing that meme of the grandpa and he was holding up the Christmas shirt and it was the exact same shirt he had on already. He's like smiling in the picture. So that could be the case, but at least it's a different voice. Like you're not going to get another Sean McVay just falling out of the sky. Boom, in Pittsburgh. Let's run it up at the Steelers. I don't think that's happening as frequently as people believe it's going to happen.
I don't know. I just don't think Pittsburgh Steelers when I think Mike McCarthy. I think he probably would have been a better hire for Tennessee, for example. Like I feel like Pittsburgh and Tennessee should swap coaches. Like Saleh should be the Steeler coach and McCarthy should be the Titan coach. I don't know what their identity is going to be. They're getting old on defense. We talked about that. I think they're the oldest team in the league, them in Washington. So basically at this point, you have to reset, but he's not the kind of coach that you bring in for a reset in that way.
True, but like I said, it being Pittsburgh, I think he'll get 2 full years. Like, I don't even think the word hot seat will be mentioned with him just because of the way Pittsburgh treats their coaches. And
I think he's a good enough coach that won't come up. Yeah.
So I think over the next couple of years without. I mean, if you think about who's a backup, who's on someone's bench that they could bring in that could be a starter. Like where's Sam Darnold in this space of quarterback?
I don't know. You grab
be a starter going forward.
I mean, you got Will Howard. You know what I mean? Already, sitting on the bench. Like do you go grab a Jameis or? Something along those lines. Like, I
mean, I'm talking about like a guy that you could potentially extend, or you just go with the rookie, or the second year guy, and just say, "Hey, we're gonna do this rebuild, and we're gonna see how it goes." Because if he plays terrible, then you're gonna get the way that non-top 10 pick that Pittsburgh normally doesn't get. So I figured
the way that I've heard people talk in the league, and this is just hearsay that I've heard throughout the year. A lot of people are really high on Tanner McGee, over in Philly.
That's crazy. I was literally thinking that when I was thinking of a guy. I was thinking that.
Yeah, like I would have said Kenny Pickett, but we obviously already saw that. You know what I mean? Like
that bridge is burned and buried.
So, I mean, what do you do with Will Levis at this point, right? Like we forgot all about him. He's been injured and everything, and he's got the strong arm, if nothing else. Well, I mean,
the alien shoulder last year with his surgery.
but hey, you need an arm that can whip through that link effect, right? And
So I say you got a guy on your staff, on your team. You drafted him. Granted, it was the 5th round, but I mean, it's football. Can he play football or not? And how are you going to find out? How are you going to find out if this guy's ready to play football? Because you can see it happening with other teams. Indy's in a bad spot with quarterback. They're going probably like their 6th or 7th straight year with a different guy and multiple guys within season, and then going into the next season.
Are you willing to bring in Anthony Richardson?
Probably not. I mean, like, I wouldn't bring in a guy when I already have, like, if I have a project already in Will Howard.
Yeah, you don't need another one.
You don't need another one. Just see what you have there. And then
I hope they move off of Aaron Rodgers, but this makes me think, because I know there was a report that came out before they hired him that said that Aaron Rodgers was open, to Mike McCarthy. So that's why, I made the comment earlier, like, does that mean Aaron Rodgers is coming back?
I thought Aaron said something about it being his last year. And I don't know if he said it or if one of the sideline reporters said that, hey, I had a conversation with Aaron and he talked about, being content with this being his last, or something along those.
Well, I know the way that they lost that playoff game, that was definitely a topic of discussion, at the, like people were asking him at the press conference, and he was kind of non-committal in his answers, but we'll see. But, over in Buffalo, Joe Brady,
and this is something, like I said, I have these conversations. I forget.
Architect of 2019 LSU.
But today, I remember I wrote it down, and it was reference to Josh Allen. I know a lot of the conversation this playoffs was like Josh Allen has to do it this year because there's no Mahomes, it's no Burrow, it's no Lamar.
Right.
And I thought about it today. I was like, that would make sense if the Chiefs still made the playoffs and he was playing against the backup quarterback, or any one of those 3 teams made the playoffs and they were in his path through the playoffs.
Okay.
But it's like the reason the Ravens weren't in the playoffs is because they were getting beat by better teams. The reason the Chiefs weren't in the playoffs because they were getting beat by better teams. And subsequently their starting quarterback go down with ACL. But they were on the outskirts of the playoffs by then anyway. And the same thing with Cincinnati. Joe Burrow goes down, misses a bunch of games in the middle of the season. Unfortunately, it seems to be common. And then they don't make the playoffs. So I'm glad they kept the hire in-house, because I think that keeps the sense of urgency the same. Because that was one of the pieces I was talking about. Like, if you bring in hypothetically, say if they brought in the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator, Kubiak, to be their head coach, they would have to reset the clock. And I'm not sure you could reset the clock with the quarterback like Josh Allen in his prime, and especially in his financial prime, like the amount of money he's taken out of the salary cap. But having a guy that's been there, that kind of understands the locker room, and that kind of lets me think even more that Sean McDermott was more on the outs with management than it was his coaching ability.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's what I was saying. It was time. Like, I know I've been saying that Sean McDermott should have been fired for the last 3 years, but I never wanted to be mistaken that I think that Sean McDermott's not a good coach. I just think that they reached a plateau of, this is where we're going to get to. And that's why I bring up Phil Jackson and Doug Collins all the time, because, Doug Collins got fired the year they made the Eastern Conference Finals. So at some point you just realize internally, or you think, I ain't going to say you, but you think
same thing.
Tom Thibodeau, yeah,
coach is just like, hey,
can we get beyond this? Like, we keep losing the same way. Right. Like at some point, something's got to change. So Joe Brady, architect of the LSU offense, Joe Burrow, 2019 national title. But I don't know what he is as a head coach, obviously. That's tough, because now and I don't think it matters who Buffalo's coach is if they're not going to do some kind of roster construction, because you got the owner out here already. Like, he already traded Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman just don't know it yet. You know what I mean? And then
I got a trade destination for him.
Oh yeah, what's that?
I know this is something you and I talked about recently. as a Falcons fan, I want draft capital. I want a full rebuild. I want to reset. And I know this won't sound popular, and it might even sound crazy, but I think it has to be done. I think Buffalo calls Atlanta and say, "Hey, we got a package together. We want Drake London." They need a number one guy there. I think Atlanta needs capital. I think they need pieces, and I think they need to save their money because with the wide receiver market being what it is, Drake London, his size, speed, youth, production, all of that's 26 to 29 million conservative. That's if they give any kind of a team friendly deal. Cause I think Ayuk was somewhere around 28. I think CeeDee Lamb is somewhere in low 30s, 30 and a half. Jefferson's like 30 and a half. I think Jamar Chase is even higher than that. And I know he's not those guys, but when it comes to the Falcons as an individual team, he's in that space. I don't know if, like what the money looks like for Buffalo, but I'm looking for a number one guy. I'm looking for a number one wide receiving target for Josh. I'm like, hey, you guys could take Keon Coleman, maybe a second and a fifth. Get us Drake. We'll call it good. I mean, it sounds crazy, but someone's gonna have to make the move to make their team better because you can't sit back and hope that your rebuild works because you're not in position to rebuild because of what you have spent financially into your quarterback. Atlanta had some money tied up in the two quarterbacks, or potentially, and then the tight end, and then the running back's going to get money, but you have this good defense. So it's like you're gonna have to shore up something. You can't have all of these holes offensively. So it's like you might as well create a dominant defense with these picks or these moves and just get an offense that can get you 24 points and a defense that can keep a team under 23 and hope you can win your games that way. So I think Buffalo's I imagine they're gonna have to make some kind of move, but I'm willing to entertain that one.
Yeah, I'm guessing their first draft pick is going to be a wide receiver, as well. And then, they got to shore up some pieces on that defense too. That secondary isn't very good. They had Hyde and Poyer all those years. Tre'Davious White they brought back, but he's old. They were supposed to bring in Darius Slay. He's old, but he didn't even want to report. And that was another
he was at the Eagles game.
Yeah, and that was another problem because McDermott developed Ingram, and the team really loved him, but they had to cut him to make room for Slay, and his Slay never showed up. So, it was one of those things where we knew it was happening probably. So Tennessee bringing in Brian Daboll as an offensive coordinator. What you think about that?
Get Cam a weapon, a reliable one. I don't know what's up with Ridley. He's probably one of the most dynamic wide receivers, but you think about it
most of the year.
The years catch up to you. The years that you're playing this game catch up to you. Because I think about it like I think he came to Atlanta after that Super Bowl because Gabriel used to wear 18 and then really came to the team after that. So, it's 8 or 9 years in the league and he had the year off for like his mental health. So it's just long in the tooth. Get him a weapon. Get them something reliable, and they're in the winnable division. We feel like
we talk about CJ Stroud, right?
And struggles.
Indianapolis. Daniel Jones. With the injuries,
uncertainty at quarterback. Jacksonville,
no pass rush.
I imagine some guys want to get paid. So like they're in a winnable division. Like they could be better. And if
nothing else, even if they don't win the division, that division got 2 teams in this year.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I don't think Daboll did a bad job with Jackson Dart. I just felt that he should not have been able to coach Jackson Dart.
I agree.
They should have made a clean break. because you're gonna put too much pressure on the Jackson Dart experiment and basically leverage his job against it. When it's like, I could have been out of here looking for different employment last off season. So you bring me in, you give me Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston in the off season, and then you draft a project guy and you give up draft capital, even though they gave up less than Atlanta, gets one spot ahead of them. You give up draft capital to move up to get him, which puts even more pressure on me to make it work, knowing I'm on the hot seat. And then we throw away a couple of games. You had a good game against Philly. They had a really good game going against Denver. That game went by the wayside. And it happened a lot. They had a good game against Green Bay. That game went away. So it's like they had good games all year long, even when after he got fired. They just were a team that just couldn't close. They were a young team. They should have gone with a young coach last year and let these guys collectively get their lumps together. Now they bounce back, fortunately, by having Harbaugh and having that experience. So they got lucky by having him available. But
I think Dayball was a victim of his GM as well. You know what I mean? Because you went and got Jackson Dart, and
who you didn't want, by the way.
Yeah, and you brought in Cam Scatterboo, but we never saw Jalen Hyatt develop. Obviously Malik Neighbors got hurt at the start of this year and missed the whole season. Darius Slayton, I've always said, is basically like Alan Lazard, but maybe even a little bit worse with the drops. And so like they didn't have that going for them. And then, they have the defensive pieces. They went out and made the trade for Burns last year. But I just don't feel like with Dayball being an offensive coach, I don't feel like there was ever a plan of what do you need, to make your offense blossom. I don't think they ever they might have had the conversation, but I don't think they ever.
I don't think the offensive line was ever like formidable. It felt like I think they missed a couple times on offensive linemen. I feel the same way about. I felt the same way about Eberflus in Chicago. We keep talking about how they did this same cycle for 3 or 4 quarterbacks,
and he got fired this year too,
and 4 head coaches. So it's like I thought that they should have just started fresh. I don't know what coach was on the market last year that they could have gotten to come in and then draft. I'm not sure, but when they signed Jameis and Russell Wilson, I was like, that's 2 of the same player.
Back to that GM.
As far as productivity, Jameis is feast or famine. He's gonna be entertaining. He's gonna be a great locker room guy, and he might throw you a loss. Russell Wilson, same thing. Not as jovial, but he's a great locker room guy. But in the same sense, he might.
Hell, they could have went and got Flacco, and and not got either one of them.
I wouldn't have mind one or the other, because we all thought they were going after Shador anyway. So I was like, okay, you get one of these guys. I would say when you have Russell, now you bring in Shador. Let him learn, because when Shador was rocking the red and blue cleats at some like a pro day or something like that.
Well, it was at the bowl game against BYU. Yeah.
We thought it was a done deal that he was going to the Giants. So when they had Jameis and Russ, I was like, okay, that didn't make any sense. And I'm pretty sure Daboll's thinking, like, why do I have these 2 guys taking up roster spots? Why didn't I get Tooney out of Kansas City? Like, we got offensive linemen out here. Like, why didn't I get one of these guys? Like, why am I
like, Washington traded for Laramie Tunsil? Word.
Yeah. Like, why am I here saddled with two guys who I can't keep me in this position? Like, Russell Wilson was never going to perform to the level that allowed Dable to keep his job. Jameis wasn't going to perform to that level. And then Jackson Dart's a rookie. So the expectation is he's going to lose. So him losing cost me my job. So I think it just was like, triple-edged sword at that point. It's like, it's nothing he could do. I think he just was a dead man walking forward. That's why he was always cussing out the neurologist and yelling at, because he was like, listen, my job is on the line. Every drive, you keep him out of here in this team.
And then, of course, lastly, the Broncos fired Joe Lombardi, their offensive coordinator. I don't know about it. I don't know.
Nah, I don't think the offensive coordinator was a problem. I mean, Sean Payton, just teach him what you want.
I mean, you're the architect. You know
You're
what I mean?
architect.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and the whole reason that a lot of people still believed in Denver and I guess was picking Denver to beat New England was because of Sean Payton and the thought of he's going to have this figured out. He's going to throw some wrinkles in there that we haven't seen, so on and so forth. And then, but the offensive coordinator is the one that is on the way out. Can't fire himself. Yeah. But yeah, Mr. Logical, speaking of coaches,
$20 million a year.
Yeah, speaking of coaches, Coach Prime trying to take money out these kids' pockets. So real quick, this is how this is set up. So $2,000 for not showing up for a meeting or film session, $400 for being late, $1,500 for not showing up to strength and conditioning, $1,000 for being late to treatment, $1,500 for a no-show, and up to $2,500 for a violation of team rules, and up to $5,000 for social media or public misconduct. What say you?
Father of 24 and 22-year-old. I get it. You want to teach them the next step in their career, their life, so forth. I'm not sure if I think you need to have like a certain level of relationship with all the players to institute that. And I guess Deion's not afraid for guys to just leave.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a slippery slope between teaching them a lesson and getting them prepared for the next step, which is, he always talks about, I want you to be men first. I want to teach you how to be good men and good football players. And I understand that piece. I'm not sure how much money all these guys are getting to the point where they could potentially afford these fines. And in that same token, if you can't afford the fine, make sure you're at these different functions. So I get it. If I don't know what the problem was that prompted this. If it was just rampant across all of the players on teams, scholarship guys and walk-ons, guys are always late, guys are always missing stuff to the point where you have to institute this. But I don't know. I just think it's. I don't want to use the word unfair, but I think it's a slippery slope.
So I got a couple of thoughts on this. One, I like this a lot. I would like it more if it was 1995. You know what I mean? Or something along those lines, like threatened playing time and that type of thing, because this era just doesn't allow for this type of, I don't want to say discipline, but this type of responsibility.
Discipline is a good word. I was thinking
yeah, okay. Yeah, because they'll just leave. They'll just leave at the end of the year, or they'll leave during the season. You know what I mean? Correct. But also with that being said, I think Deion is focused on, and this is where I kind of contradict myself. He's focused on everything but the football,
the optics,
right? Because he's from a football standpoint,
how the program looks and not how the program performs,
right? And that's fine, right? Because you have to create culture. You have to have that. Nick Saban is known as a super disciplinarian. You know what I mean? So those things have to be in place.
But I don't know what Nick Saban's punishments are.
But
I don't know what Signetti's punishments are. And I think Deion has always been the center of the universe when it comes to Deion. It's literally the reason I'm a Falcons fan is because the way he commanded the space that he operated in. So I don't expect him to change. But with that being said, that kind of appearance and that elephant in the room of your larger than life personality can outshine and overshadow some other players. And I think you highlighting your financial disciplinary chart, for lack of a better word, is another thing that overshadows the players. I know he allows them to wear their YouTube tags or their Instagram tags in their jersey, and I understand that he does try to highlight them, but when he talks about the program, it's him in front of the camera, again, knowing like the camera's gonna follow you.
Right.
You're everywhere. It reminds me of the Suge Knight at the Source Awards. Listen, you don't want to produce all in the video, all in front of the camera, come to death row. And I think that's gonna be something that other coaches are gonna whisper in the ear of his players.
But also I also wonder, like, why was this necessary? Like, have there been guys that have already been doing this stuff? And if so, why? You need to get to the root cause of that before you just because you got to have a reason for punishment. You can't just have punishment. You know what I mean? It's one thing if you took over Colorado the moment he took over and he instituted something like that. But you're 3-4 years in now.
If they were coming off a scandal, or like it was like they lost a lot of scholarships because the NCAA came down with some penalties and you need to instill like this new program. I just feel like sometimes, because I have to catch myself, because sometimes I get aggravated with my my young leaders who live here, and I'll find them $100. Like, listen, this is ridiculous. Like, I told y'all this, blah, 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 blah. I need $100 on turn the Wi-Fi off. One time I did it on my phone. I couldn't figure out how to turn it back on. It was pretty embarrassing. So I stopped doing that part. But it just was like, at the time I had to look at it like, you know what? I could just be like, all right, man, let's collectively get together and get this resolved, because like me just screaming out the fines, they tuned me out, which is, listen, you don't want
it reminds me what's funny.
And I think Deion's getting to that point where it's like, listen, these guys are going to start tuning you out. Even though you have your best intentions, it's just, once again, you're the center of the room. You're getting all the attention, and I'm here just to play football.
Well, what's funny, because you brought up the producer in the video, and what I was thinking about was, you know what I'm saying, like, go get me some Cambodian breast milk or I'm going to lock the studio.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
walk to Brooklyn to get this cheesecake.
Yeah. Like, it's always like here's the punishment, but there's no real reason behind it. And the other question I would have is, where's this money going? The money that you're collecting from these players, are you going to put it in a bucket or something and then give it back to them when they leave or graduate? Or, you know what I mean?
Fact, like, is this even legal?
That too.
Like,
you know what I mean?
That's another piece. But once again, it's, I talk about this. I've talked about this multiple times where people are like, yo, how come Magic Johnson didn't work out as a head coach? Why Kobe wouldn't have been a good NBA head coach? Why Jordan wasn't going to be an NBA head coach? Why I think LeBron won't be a good coach? Some of these guys are just so, I don't think Tom Brady would be a good coach, because these guys were so great at what they did that there's an expectation that you and I are doing the same thing, and I'm giving you more than I got when I was coming up doing this. And how come you're not performing at the level that I would be performing at with these resources? Right. And I think I can see a situation where, is the juice worth the squeeze for Deion in Colorado and the Colorado athletic department? Like I said, it's not like I dislike, holding players accountable. I just think bringing it to money in the space where you don't want money to be the focal point of guys making their decisions, but yet money is the focal point of your punishment to guys. Yeah. They're going to use money as a decision to leave.
Well, I've always said that coaches need to just hold the line and use, like, what do you do? Like, going back to the military, what do? You mess with people's time and you find out, what gets them going or whatever, and you take that away. So, like, hey, you show up late obviously we're not in season right now, but you show up late for a film session, guess what? You don't play the first half on Saturday or something along those lines. You know what I mean? But hey, Duke and Darian Mensah, came to an agreement, undisclosed amount settlement, so for all intents and purposes, like I said the other day, he's most likely on his way to Miami. But Mr. Logical, I feel a little disappointed. I wanted to see this play out. I wanted to see this go to court. I wanted to see a precedent come from this. I wanted to see the NCAA go back to the drawing board and say, here's the guardrails that you guys been waiting for when it comes to NIL. And all we are is we're back at square one waiting for the next situation. And now Miami might even make out because his leading wide receiver, Connor Barkate, is in the portal too.
Well, this is I saw Malachi Tony jumped into the portal to leave Miami. Maybe this might bring him back. I know they both were 10, so got to figure that part out. The problem with NIL, like I said, we talked about this last week, and I talked to a guy today. He's he's been a football coach in different football programs around Philly and New Jersey. And me and him were talking, and he was like, I'm a Miami fan, and like I've been kind of following because he's like coaches high school kids and gets him like ready to meet, college coaches and stuff like that. So like he's had these conversations before. And essentially what he was saying is that the NIL collective in that Duke in a lot of these conversations is a deal with the boosters to give you money for your name, image, and likeness. None of it is about you playing football for the school.
Mm-hmm.
So Duke can't sue him for wanting to go to another school because I guess the nuance of the contract, there isn't an obligation to play football at the school. Duke was trying to say, well, we own your name, image, and likeness. But if you go down that rabbit hole, eventually a good lawyer would say, Duke is infringing upon my client's ability to make a living by holding on to this frivolous but
then on the other side, Duke is saying like we got damages here because, like I said, you waited until the last day to jump in the portal.
But that has nothing to do
and
with
you were
football.
And you were obviously getting tampered with, which goes back to
there's no tampering rules.
Right, exactly. And that's
so it's like you're like Duke is bothered by the behavior, but none of it violated anything. Because there's no concrete.
It just violated
paragraph.
It violated what should be. Yeah, like what should be.
It violated the laws of the handshake.
Like, who was it? There was a rapper, say you tell it how it is, and I tell it how it is, and you tell it how it might be. Yeah. Saying like that's basically what it is.
That was the piece. I mean, the NIL. And I don't know what the NCAA is afraid of. I've heard it from different pundits, and even this conversation we had today is that they don't want to make them employees because that puts them on the hook for like U.S. Department of Labor restrictions and expectations, and then subsequent injury and health coverages, retirement taxes, so forth and so on. So as long as you're gonna, play with the ball, you're gonna get the horns.
Yeah.
Some of these guys are going to be 1-year rentals, and you're going to have to constantly be on the phone. Your offensive linemen, your wide receivers, your corners, when you're at school like Duke or even Clemson, maybe these guys will stay. But the quarterbacks and teams who feel like they're going to be a quarterback away every year, like LSU recruiting class is going to get the top high school recruits that they can get access to. So they're going to give 3 or 4 or 5 of those 5 stars from 4 stars. They're going to get some top transfer players. If they can get the quarterback right, you can win college football games. We see it all the time where it's like Cam Newton took a team to the national championship. I think 3 guys played snaps in the NFL from that team, from the starting lineups. So if you have the quarterback right, you can win games. And I think as long as you're dealing with quarterbacks, that's something you're going to have to deal with. Skill position players and quarterbacks. Guys who want more notoriety and guys who are going to get more acclaimed by position, you're just gonna have to retool and constantly have another guy to fill in that spot because you're probably gonna lose him. It's unfair, but in the same sense, make a rule. Sit down and have a conversation and make a rule. Like college basketball, acting as if they can't figure out what's a professional, what's an amateur, and what eligibility look like. It looks ridiculous, but that's how the NCAA when it came to football was for years, because it was like, we don't know how we're gonna pay the players, so we're never gonna come up with the plan. It's like, well, you're selling their jerseys in the school bookstore. So obviously, like this player has value. Like,
yeah, I know who number 1 on Ohio State is.
Yeah, I know who number 2 on Michigan is. I
know
who
Auburn. Yeah.
I know who number 15 on Florida was. Like,
yeah. So I don't know, but we'll see what happens. And of course, there was the whole Ole Miss Clemson thing too. So yeah, they got to get this under control. But Mr. Logical, before we get into this association, I got to let the world know we are down to 2. Count them, 2 undefeated teams left in college basketball. Nebraska falls on the road at Michigan tonight, leaving Miami, Ohio, and Arizona as the only 2 undefeated teams left. By the way, Miami, Ohio's down 6 to UMass right now. So by the end of the night, we might have Arizona as the only undefeated team in college basketball. But Mr. Logical, thinking about the NBA, and I was sitting around and I was just, surveying the landscape. And I was like, what are some things that I got right? And what are some things that I got wrong? So I'm gonna start off with a wrong, because we could pat our back all day, but you know what I mean? Like, that ain't what people want to hear. So I definitely didn't have the Toronto Raptors, where they are right now. Like, I thought that the Toronto Raptors were going to be around that play-in, that 9-10, maybe just right on the outside, and they're sitting there at the 3 seed, sitting nice and pretty right now. I don't know. I don't know what's like the more impressive thing is they're 16-9 on the road and only 13-10 at home. So,
strange.
Yeah, especially because the thing about the Raptors was I didn't know how it was going to mix, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, but maybe a silver lining to some degree. RJ Barrett missed a bunch of time. Like, he just got back last week. So, so now, maybe we'll see some of those concerns that I had. But for the time being, the Raptors have been looking good. Jamal Shed off the bench. Emmanuel quickly stepped up. But I'm wondering if Grady Dick might get traded, because I see that his minutes are just they fallen so much. But shout out to the Toronto Raptors, man. They're definitely doing the damn thing.
I knew the Pacers were going to be hurting. I knew they were going to be missing their star. I didn't think they'd be 11-36 though. Even with the coach and coming off, like I said, they play a few possessions in the second half a little differently in the game 7, and they're NBA champions. Like, they're reigning NBA champions right now. Because, I say all the time, if a Halliburton didn't get hurt, I think they win that game. But even with that, I think they win the halftime score. It was like 49-49 or
it was close,
49-50, something like that. I think if you play a few possessions differently in second half and you go on that run, and I think TJ McConnell came in and really was like making things happen, you're reigning NBA champs if you win that game, and then you come into this season at 11-36. That was a little different to me. The Bucks, I'm not sure like what they're doing with this Doc Rivers situation. I'm not sure why they're holding on.
Yeah, Giannis is hurt now, and he's going to be out past the trade deadline. And same thing with Ja Morant.
But for the most part, I thought the Pelicans were going to be in that space. I didn't think the Mavericks was going to be. I've remembered a lot of the conversations people saying like, "Oh, Cooper Flag, AD, Kyrie." I think Kyrie is coming off an ACL.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, healthy Kyrie, healthy AD, healthy Cooper Flag. Yeah, absolutely. It's formidable big three. But I'm like, he's injured. And he has to still work himself back. And even if you came back, and I believe it was like, if he came back in 9 months, that still would have put him at
Like
him at late
now.
December and now. Yeah, like late this past December or January. But I'm like, even that's best case scenario.
Like, I'm guessing you're keeping him out into the All-Star break.
I'm keeping him out until he can do what Cleveland Kyrie was doing. I know that sounds like crazy, but like,
yeah, I was going to say,
move,
then he ain't coming back at all. Then
able to move like that, but like, you know, you take the time off, you heal fully, because what am I bringing you back for? To get to 10?
Hey, I think that and this is where
you're gonna sell tickets already. You got Cooper Flag,
but this is where we talk about the false ideas, right? Because you probably feel, if you're in that locker room or around that team, you probably feel that, hey, if we get Kyrie, AD, and then Cooper Flag looks like the goods, like, I like our chances against just about anybody not named OKC and San Antonio. Like, you could talk yourself. I'm not saying it's true, but I'm saying that you could talk yourself into that.
Right now, you're 36 games remaining in the season. Even if you got Kyrie back today and AD back today, and they were both available for your next 36 games, how many you think both of them are going to play?
Right. You might still be looking at 18 and 18 or something like that.
18 and 18 is your best case scenario, with each one of them playing 22 of those 36 games. Maybe, especially with AD. AD could, easily miss 3 or 4 games with, some kind of strain because he's compensating for another injury that's coming back from. Kyrie just rest.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably not playing 36 straight games. So even if he gave you 28 out of that, in those 28,
whooping cough or something,
you go 14 and 14 in those 28. So it's like, I just don't see. But once again, I'm on the outside looking in. I'm not an executive. I'm not a coach. I'm not playing on a team. I just look at it like, yo, the NBA is 30 teams. And I said this last week. About 6 of y'all got a shot.
Mm-hmm.
6 of y'all got a shot. I'm going to give you Detroit, Boston. Raptors are doing their thing. I think Cleveland.
Nah, I don't believe in them, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just because they're second. Just because they would have home court for a couple of rounds. I give them the benefit of doubt there because at 2, you got a couple of rounds of home court advantage. Mm-hmm. So that gives you the edge there, but I'm not expecting them to run off, 8-1 in their first 2 rounds, when it's sweeping and then going 4-1. But if you look at some of these teams at the bottom sliding up, that could be the case. But that's best case scenario. Cleveland, consistently healthy, unhealthy. Like, how does that all balance out? So that's always a problem.
Yeah, but if I'm Cleveland, if I'm Cleveland, I like where I'm at. That was one of the teams I was going to say I was wrong about because I have them going to the finals out of the East. I mean, they're only 2 games out of the 2 seed right now, so I don't want to make it sound like I'm just dead wrong, but they've had so many injuries, whether it's Mobley missing a game, Garland missed half the season.
You go back, you're probably injury prone. You're probably nursing something else. I was wrong about the Spurs. I didn't have them this high.
I told you they were coming. I
just didn't buy it because we had a couple of years of Wemby already, and I just felt like the offense didn't flow through him the way it should. I just saw a lot of plays where he's just like, he's at the free throw line running through and the ball wasn't getting to him. I don't know if it was Popovich's style or the way they were just calling the plays, but I just felt like the ball wasn't getting to him. And they were losing a lot of games where I felt like maybe if you got him the ball 8 more times in that space, he makes a dribble and he's a finger roll, he's at the rim.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't think that they would be able to pull it off, but they're going for like their 4th year in a row with Rookie of the Year, so a Rookie of the Year candidate. So I think they're. So I was surprised. I'm surprised about the Spurs.
Oh,
the Rockets too. I wasn't big on the Rockets because I just felt like what are you going to do if you're going to keep leaning on a guy who's damn near 40?
Yeah. And I tell you, Mr. Logical, you talk about being wrong. Oh, the Orlando Magic got me eating some humble pie. Now, granted, there was a lot of injury there too. Wagner just got back a little while ago. And what I think I'm learning over this season is that this ain't Paolo's team no more. They go as Franz goes. And, and when I look at Paolo, like one of my criticisms of him coming out of the draft, and it sounds like a weird criticism, but I think you'll understand it. My criticism of him was he's already there. Like, he's not going to get any better. Like, he's just already really good right now. And I don't think his game has a lot of room for him to improve. So he'll come into the league and look like he belongs. But then as his career goes on, I think you start to see people pass him a little bit because he was at his peak already. So when I look at him now, you know what I mean? And this might be due to the Wagner situation, but he's turned into a chucker, a non-efficient, not passing the ball kind of guy. He shoots way too many threes, for the type of player that he is and the amount of threes that he can't hit. Desmond Bane, I thought was going to get there and improve the 3-point shooting. Desmond Bane's playing like a star right now. You know what I mean? But the overall collective shooting hasn't necessarily gotten a lot better.
And I remember we were having that conversation. I was like, I don't think that's enough. Like, I didn't think he shot the ball well enough that it was going to create like a more prolific shooting offense. I feel like KD shoots the ball well enough to kind of create that space. I think a guy like Klay Thompson, in his heyday when he was really doing his thing, I just felt like I didn't know I didn't know who was gonna be the guy who's gonna lead the team. I think he probably plays a lot like Carmelo, and I think if he took some of Carmelo's bag, I think he's about the same size, like 6'8", 6'9", not super fast, so I just think like maybe you should mold your game after a guy that's top 10 all time in scoring, and you could probably do a lot of the stuff that Carmelo did throughout his career. But you have to be able to take all that on as a team. Because they have the talent, they have the players, they have the type of players.
They do.
The style
I think that Anthony Black
is, they're all young. It's just that.
Yeah, I think Anthony Black might find himself. I think Anthony Black might find himself in the most improved player conversation. He's averaging 16 points basically rounding up. So, we saw the dunk against Memphis last week, where he basically dunked on the whole team, but like I said, the team is just not a good shooting team. So that's their downfall. So they might need to make a move just to get another shooter in there. I know that I saw rumors about them trying to upgrade over Tyus Jones, so maybe you can get somebody that can knock down a shot or two. But I'm going to call it incomplete on the Hornets. I like what I'm seeing out of the Hornets. I thought that they were going to challenge for the playoffs. And I mean, they're only 3.5 out of the 10 spot right now. Con Knipple, third in the league in 3-point makes, shooting them at 42.2%. Ryan Kalkbrenner, the other rookie, the big man holding it down. Obviously LaMelo is LaMelo, even though he had 2 for 15 the other day or something like that. I like this team, and I think I
want to address something you said real quick.
What's that?
Because I was sneezing, so I had to put the mic down and I turned the camera off.
What's up?
My sneeze face. You said Charlotte's only 3.5 out of the 10 spot. That's where they always are.
No, they're usually down there with the Wizards.
Yeah, they're not that far. The Wizards are 14. They're 12. So it's
but look at the records.
Where they are. The records look better. But as far as a team, they will always be 12 to 15.
Watch out for the Hornets next year. Then, I think we both nailed.
They're gonna botch a move. They're gonna botch something where either they don't want to pay a guy, and they're gonna make a move that they think works. Like call in Orlando, see if they can get Banchero. Something ridiculous, and it's going to mess up team chemistry, and they're going to be right back at 12 again. We talk about this from a new studio next year. Make it, put it in an atmosphere. Say the same thing, like, damn, these dudes still at 12.
I think that we both nailed the Warriors and Clippers. You know, it's only so long that the old men can keep up. You know what I mean? And, you know, the Clippers, as soon as they started hitting their stride, Kawhi had to, you know, step out. You know, Harden, you know, is just putting miles upon himself that I don't know what's going to be there when the playoffs comes. Zubac, you know, was hurt, but even before he got hurt, wasn't necessarily playing to the level that he was playing at last year. The Warriors, obviously Jimmy Butler's gone for the season, but, you know, even before that, you know, the Warriors were a shell of themselves. So I think we both get credit for that one.
Yeah, I think a lot, like, some of these teams are just playing for the love of the game. And I saw it last night. Like, Ant was talking to Steph when he was shooting his free throw. And I think guys are enjoying it because I think there's a realization that, you know what? I had a good run.
Mm-hmm.
James Harden, for all your playoffs talk and everybody else talks about, is like, you had a MVP run for like those 3-4 years in Houston that second to none. The 60-point triple doubles. I think Steph with his championship run, and, you know, and the way he just kind of, I won't say revolutionized the game because guys were shooting threes. He was shooting live threes, and there's guys that shoot at a better percentage than him. But the way he made the 3-point shot, the level of entertainment he took the 3-point shot to, and the way the team was still winning, it was just different. LeBron obviously had a couple of decades of it. And I think it just might be a time where it's like, all right, that was cool. There's a new overhaul of superstardom. Some of them are foreign, some of them are Canadian, but a lot of them are younger. And that's just, I think that's just the nature of the beast, is like, these guys are substantially younger than you guys in your mid to late 30s, 36, 37, 38, and you're going up against 24, 25, 26, 27-year-old guys who are competing for MVPs, finals MVPs, conference MVPs. So it's like your time isn't fading because you are fading. It's just Father Time's undefeated. You had a great run, but it's just time to kind of like just look at it like, you know what? I'm just out here for the love of the game. I'm gonna play hard every night. My teammates can play hard, but at a certain point, my coach has got to retire. The GM's probably gonna move on. My teammates who keep dyeing their hairs and their beard black.
Hey, don't be hating. I thought about it. Like,
it's time to just sit back and, you know, start your podcast or something, because, you know, they all got that going on. But yeah, it's like the Clippers put a lot of eggs into their entertainment basket. Steve Ballmer put a lot of money into it.
And people have been talking about they should trade for AD. That's the last thing they need.
Yeah, and the trade for AD thing doesn't make any sense to me, because once again, you know, it goes by my moniker, Mr. Logical. How does that make any sense? How am I trading for a guy that needs to get healthy? Like,
there's one team.
His talent is there, but it's like, dog, your talent can't be on display if you're not available to play.
There's one team that should trade for AD, and that's only because he's from there. You know what I mean? All right, Mr. Logical.
All right.
Want to play a game?
Let's play a game.
All right. So a team that, you know, it's still early, but I felt like they are not a championship contender regardless of what has happened. Everybody kind of gave them the East. Is it time for the Knicks to trade Cat?
Me think. I know dead air is probably not a good thing.
Because I just don't see him and Jalen as a long-term thing. I don't think that you can play defensively that bad at those two positions and really put yourself in a place to be successful. I think that, you know, Cat just isn't. He doesn't want to be one of the best players in the league, but he can be.
But maybe he can't. Maybe his talent is, once again, NBA 450 guys in the world currently have this job, so his talent is
so
extraordinary for basketball.
So White Adam, right? He used to call Adam.
I just don't know where. Once again, like when you say you offer up the trade, like what are you getting in return? Because the Knicks still, even with Jalen Brunson, don't have a great offense. They have a lot of scrappy guys. They have a lot of like real glue guys on their team. I think you just have to just compensate for the fact that Cat isn't going to be great defensively at the rim. Maybe you put him in different positions where he doesn't have to like defend at the rim. Get a big in there that, maybe can hit free throws so you don't have to take him out of the game. Just this little, like maybe they could have kept Hartenstein, just throwing it out there. But those kind of decisions, I don't think it just rests on the guy at the star, because a lot of great offensive players, no matter the size, aren't generally great defenders because of the amount of energy they exert offensively. They're getting the other team's best defender. So if you're big, you're getting the other team's best big. And if you're a guard, Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, if you're like a primary wing scorer, you're getting the other team's best wing defender. The energy level on each end of the floor can't be the same. It's just not sustainable for 82 games. So that's up for the team to build around what your guy can do. What Cat can do at 7 feet tall is just as impactful as Embiid can do. Embiid doesn't play that great a defense. He doesn't defend at the rim, even when he's fully healthy.
But I think the difference
that's what you get when you have a guy like that. You might have to say, you know what? I need to get a guy in here who's 7 feet tall, and all he want to do is rebound and defend. And hopefully, like I said, he can shoot free throws. That way you don't have to take him out of the game, and you can give Cat offense for defense breaks. I think people just have to figure out, like, what can a guy do, and what does he do well, and what does he give us an advantage? Not, he gives us a disadvantage here, so he's of no use to us.
Well, I think the difference is that, White Adam used to call Vince Carter the 10-man. So, if Vince Carter is the 10-man, then I'm calling Cat the cowardly lion. And you know what I mean? Because he does have that talent. I mean, he can step out, shoot the three. I've seen Cat play defense and block shots and be effective. He just doesn't want to do it. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't think it's he can't. I just think he doesn't. Like, how AD talks about, I don't want to play the center or whatever. And it's like,
yeah,
bro, you're playing power forward. You're basically a center. Stop it. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I don't know, because I know
part of that reason was because he didn't want to have to, like, I don't want you to need to rely on me for 27, 11, and 6 on the offensive end of the floor, and then expect me to, for 82 games or however many games you play, defend Domantas Sabonis. Like, it's just like I can't do both. Like, I have one tank of energy for this game. I'm gonna exhaust 30% of it just trying to defend these guys down low, because you won't get a big in here to do this job. So I can clean up rebound, I can help side D, and I can play off offense. I think that was a shortcoming of the team management. I think AD was like, I don't want to play the 5, because, like, you want me to score 30 points on one end and defend a guy who's averaging 24 on the other end? Like, how the hell am I going to do that?
I don't know.
And no one's done that. I don't care what people say. It's not been a guy in the league who's been leading scorer on their team, and they're consistently, for every game in and game out, guarding the other team's best offensive player. It just doesn't happen, because
but that's the other part of it, is that you don't even have to, because most of the best players in the league are either wings or guards. So that's not even a thing. Like you're talking about, like, what? Jokic, Sabonis, and Embiid. That's probably the end of the list right there. And that's the difference with Embiid, is that Embiid, on that messed up wheel or whatever and his face was half paralyzed, he still came out there and gave the Knicks 50. You know what I mean? So like that's the stuff that Cat can't do, even though.
But I think he
probably has a better offensive bag than Embiid in some ways.
I think Jalen Brunson and Cat, I don't think they complement each other as well to the point where Cat can do that. Like, remember, Cat scored 70 in Minnesota. I don't know if Ant was on the team yet, but he dropped 70 in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like he has that. I just don't know if what they do offensively in New York with him, because Jalen Brunson doesn't move the ball.
Right.
Like he's not a creator at all whatsoever. Like,
and that's a part of why I didn't think of them as contenders. Like they made the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so kudos. I'm saying I'm not going to ignore that, and they might make the Eastern Conference Finals this year just based off of the fact that of the lack of stuff in the East, because we still got to see Detroit do it when it matters. Like we talked about Toronto earlier. Boston still missing Jason Tatum, no matter how well Jaylen Brown is playing.
You're still down.
Yeah, and you know what I mean. So the Knicks definitely have a path and road, but this is also a team that just is coming off of losing 9 out of 11 as well. Which with Cat and Jalen Brunson, now granted, Brunson's been in and out the lineup with some ankle stuff too, but that team should not be losing 9 out of 11.
But I don't know, outside of Cat, Jalen, who creates their own bucket?
Anunoby.
Off of when those two don't have a shot. Like, he gets the ball with 11 seconds left in the shot clock, it's a miracle. He's getting it with like 6, maybe 7 off a swing from Josh Hart, because Josh Hart came and set the screen and got the dribble handoff or something like that.
Yeah, when he ain't trying to figure people.
Yo, that was super weird. I can't believe he did that. Like, I know you could be friends with someone and not be crass on national TV. But yeah, so like that, I think the Knicks personnel usage is, because once again, like, just moving Cat gets you what? Like, what are you getting? You're not getting another. Right?
So it's weird, right? Because there's been some rumors that the Knicks really, really like Captain Drew. And so I don't know if you get, say, Drew Holiday, maybe Jeremy Grant, because if I'm Portland, I'm not putting Donovan Clingan in there. I don't know. So it's hard to make it work. But with the Knicks, with the Bulls, with the
Brunson play without the ball. I know last time he played without the ball in his hand primarily is with Luka. But I think a lot of guys have to play.
But he still had to come off the bench to get his touches, though. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't starting the game with Luka and playing, 35 minutes with Luka.
That's what I'm saying. So
like he was like with Ginobili. He was playing.
I don't know at what point, and I don't know if you brought in Drew Holiday, how in January or February, by the time this trade is made, like, how many practices does it take for that adjustment to be made to where Drew Holiday is controlling the offense, is running through him.
Right. I can see the Bulls. Like, I know they've been trying to get rid of Vucevic, but I don't think you do that with, like, it depends on what you're getting. You got to have some picks involved, because that's the other problem. Cat is, like, for this season, at least he's
Cat's value more than anybody else. Is his value more than Sabonis? Is his value more? Is it? If you call Chicago about Vucevic, is Chicago going to be like, all right, cool, who else you putting in the deal?
No, I don't think so. Well, you got to make the money match too. And
you got to make the money match.
And Cat is making 54 this year. He's the 5th highest paid player in the league this year. So, you got to do a lot to make that money
Vucevic
match.
is only getting 21.5. But I'm just talking about as far as, like, talent. Like, if you're, like, are you thrilled that the Knicks called you and offered you Cat? Like, what team are you where you're like, oh, this is the move we wanted, and I'm not sure if that trade is really there, not for a contender. Maybe the Wizards or something.
Maybe the Bucks. Maybe you trade Cat for Giannis.
The money is probably the same, but if you're Milwaukee, you already got Evan Turner.
Miles Turner, yeah.
Miles Turner. I get these names wrong. I'm definitely getting old. I used to be really good with names.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like that's a good point. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
And Miles Turner just came off a screen and hit a 3. So you got a 7-footer that came off a screen from a guard and walked into a 3. Like, I just think it's just a playing style. I'm not sure if the New York Knicks playing style, without shots falling, it looks like it's not working at all. And I think
it looks like a bootleg record team, you know.
Yeah. Like Philly looks like they can go off. Like Philly, all like with Exum and Maxey and Embiid when they're on the floor, and even throw Paul George in there, they look like they can make magic happen with that kind of a lineup. The Knicks are built like they're trying to keep you at 95 points, and they're going to win the game 1-on-1 95 with our 2 primary scorers.
Right.
But if you get hot, like if you score 60 points in the first half, the Knicks plan goes out the window. It's like, damn, we can't keep them on 95 when they're at 58, 56, 58, 59 points in the first half. I think that's probably the bigger Knicks problem.
Yeah, that's probably the bigger thing,
That in the tickets to the games are ridiculous. I can't even. It's like 2 car payments.
All right. Well, Mr. Logical, something surprising happened today.
Yeah,
you heard about it? You heard that the one and only William Steven Belichick did not get into the Hall of Fame as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
What does he need? What else does he need to do?
He needs to not be a cheater.
Listen, you let me know that when Tom Brady's number is up in 2 years.
Well, no, because you're the one that always tells me, right, about how these guys are in the media and all that kind of stuff like that. So Tom Brady, they wouldn't dare keep Tom Brady out of the Hall of Fame. They wouldn't dare. They would not dare. And then with him having the media job, they would not dare. Bill Belichick, on the other hand, he kind of had that Barry Bonds attitude with the media. Like, I'm going to be real short with you, like be real flippant and not answer your questions. We're on to Cincinnati and things like that. But then also, I'm cheating too. So, like on top of that, you look at a Bill Belichick, and I don't know if the NFL has enough people for you to really hold people accountable. But if it's just off the strength of Spygate, I'm good with that. You know what I mean? Bring them in next year.
Well, see, and this is my thing. I'm not a big titles guy. I'm like I'm not Super Bowl titles, but like just, we don't want him to call himself a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's like,
I don't care about that.
This guy has 8 Super Bowl rings. He led the defense of the Giants. Granted, he had the greatest defensive player in NFL history. Shout out to Virginia Lafayette High School, Lawrence Taylor. But your first ballot, you got George Halas, Vince Lombardi, Tom Landry, Don Shula, Chuck Noll, and looks like Bill Cowher and Tony Dungy. They were like the quintessential men, coach of men, the quintessential
the man's man,
leader of men. And I think Bill Belichick just probably just maybe rub people the wrong way. But off of just his merit as a coach and what he's done compared to like what other franchises have done.
Well, I mean, look at the names you brought up: Tony Dungy and Bill Cowher. Look at those names. Like, I mean, I don't.
Okay, Tony Dungy got in his 3rd year. Bill Cowher got in 14 years after he retired. I'm not sure when Jimmy Johnson got in. But I don't know. I just think this dog and pony show, it used to matter, I think, back before the number of stars, players, and coaches got to this number. I think in the 60s and 70s and 80s when leagues were only 30 years old and it was like this new thing to be in the Hall of Fame. But now with the the longevity these guys are coaching and playing, and the numbers that they're putting up, and how they're able to dominate the sport that they're in. The voting process is very antiquated, and what it does is just either a guy's a Hall of Famer or he's not. I think that determination can be made a lot earlier. Like Tom Brady, when he threw his last pass, you knew without a shadow of a doubt he's going to
So what you think, Mr.
Why are we
Logical?
wasting our time? What about Shanahan? Is resume not good enough to be in?
He's
yet?
talking about Mike Shanahan, by the way, not Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I know you're talking about Mike. He's a Denver guy. I give him that. Yeah. I mean, like if you think about it, it's like his coaching tree is lengthy, so a lot of people use what he had taught them. Like, granted, his own son's obviously doing it. He was successful in Denver. I think I'm just not sure why the criteria is, or what it is, or how they're going to apply it. I just think the Hall of Fame is just like this. I think the whole process is it just needs to be revamped. And I get it. Everybody wants to do the new thing, but this process is definitely flawed because it's like, Bill Belichick is a Hall of Fame coach.
Mm-hmm.
You knew it 4 rings ago that he was a Hall of Fame coach. So him getting 4 more rings on top of that, and it's like, I don't know. Consider like those early Tom Brady years, everyone said like, hey, you can't give Tom Brady credit for that because he just was like, he just was a conductor on the train. Bill Belichick was putting everything together, and he just was part of the ride, not making any mistakes. So those first 3 people equate to Bill Belichick's defense.
So
that basically gave him 5 defensive Super Bowls and a passing era, but he's not a first ballot Hall of Fame. I think the process is flawed.
As far as Mike Shanahan goes, I say yes, just looking at the list of the other coaches that are waiting. You got Bill Arnsparger, he's a defensive coordinator with 2 Super Bowls. Bill Belichick, we already talked about. Tom Coughlin, 20 years NFL head coach, 182 wins, 2 Super Bowl titles. So Coughlin could be his competition. Alex Gibbs, assistant head coach. Mike Holmgren, Chuck Knox, Buddy Parker, Dan Reeves, Marty Schottenheimer, George Seifert, and Clark Shaughnessy. So, like, out of that list, say, sure, I can see Mike Shanahan.
Andy Reid retires today. He's a Hall of Fame coach.
Yes.
So are we dilly-dallying around in this in 6 or 7 years whenever because he's going to retire in a couple of years. And 7 years, we're looking at Andy Reid like, he's not a first ballot guy. Like, what are we doing here?
And Chris, I know you're just trying to big up your guy, right? But they say no such thing as a dumb question, so I ain't gonna say it's a dumb question. But yes,
clearly.
Bill Belichick's coaches don't last. Where Charlie Weiss at? Where Romeo Crennel at?
But that's the thing. That's another piece. He would take those guys back and still win Super Bowls. So these guys would go fail.
We wouldn't even know Josh McDaniels if it wasn't for Bill Belichick.
Come back to New England and they go to the Super Bowl again.
No, but like Shanahan, he got like the grandchildren tree. You know what I mean? Like he got like the McVays and the Mike McDaniel. Like even though Mike McDaniel got fired, but still like the Mike McDaniels.
Like all of these guys are eating off that cheat sheet that Mike Shanahan left them. Which that's a feather in his cap, but Bill Belichick's feather in his cap. Like, listen, all my coaches sucked everywhere else they went, except when they came to Foxborough. When they came to Foxborough,
and I was the GM.
Super Bowls, yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? And when you look at my teams, you probably wouldn't say that my teams were the most talented. You know what I'm saying? We had Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? We had Randy Moss for that 1 year or those couple of years or whatever it was. But outside of that, like, we never looked at the Patriots and said, this is the team that's going to, like, yeah, like the way that people, for example, the way that people might have looked at Buffalo 2 years ago. Like, this is the year Kansas City's going down. We never looked at the Patriots' talent that way. We never looked at the Patriots like the Eagles last year. We never looked at the Patriots that way.
Yeah, they never had, like, when he drafted Gronk and Aaron Hernandez in the same draft, people were like, why would you do that? And they went out there and they set the league on fire. So it's just, yeah, what Bill Belichick was able to do, yes. Was he a little less friendly to the media? Of course. But I talk about that episode of NFL's top players or something like that. I think it was like him, Ray Lewis, Tom Brady. I think Rich Eisen was there, and they talked about Ed Reed when he picked off Peyton Manning and how excited he was to talk about that. I think he loved football. I don't think he loved the media stuff, which is fine.
Right.
He's allowed to. But
yeah,
when
you were the one always talking about how he used to take his best corner and put it on your number 2 instead of the number 1.
He started that. These defensive things. He said the same thing. He was like, don't tell me what a guy can't do. Tell me what he can do. So if I got a guy that can't play the pass, but he's a linebacker and he's a good run stuffer, all right, first and second down, you're in there. Third down, give me the guy that can play the pass. Just be ready. Remember Jonas Gray? Remember that guy had the 4 touchdowns against Indianapolis? Never heard of him again? Like, he was able to be like, you know what? Yeah, you had 4 touchdowns, a couple hundred yards last week.
Hell, he had Troy Brown playing defense.
Troy Brown's in the Patriot Hall of Fame because of what he was able to do. So, yeah, I just think I'm going to call it, like, I never really use this word. Like, I'm going to call it disrespect that he's not in. Just because it's like, what's the bar?
I want somebody to stand on
whatever the bar is, he definitely exceeded it. Because bar you have for coach can't be anywhere near 6 head coaching Super Bowl rings and 2 defensive coordinator ones, and as many wins as they had. Because you got to keep in mind, that was a 10-year gap where they didn't win any Super Bowls. But in that year, they went 18-1 at least, that 1 year. They were constantly in the AFC Championship game. So it was like, it wasn't like those 10 years they were 6-10 on a 16-game schedule. They were still winning games, winning the division every year.
I want somebody to stand on it, though, because these dudes be hiding. I want somebody to say, I didn't vote for him because of. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let us know why, because we've been letting these dudes get away with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know why Barry Bonds and those guys, because Manny Ramirez just fell off. We know why they're not getting in the Hall of Fame. But
David Ortiz is in, though. Yeah,
David Ortiz is in, but nobody's standing on it publicly to be like, I'm not putting him in because X. So that's what I want. I want somebody to come out, put their name on it, and say, I can't in good conscience vote for him because I think he's a cheater or whatever that reason might be. You know what I'm saying? Because there ain't no reason that a guy like him, as accomplished as he is, because even if he only had 3 Super Bowls, but you still remember those 2 from the Giants, that would, like Spagnuolo's getting in. You know what I'm saying? With his 4 Super Bowl rings or what, Spags is getting in.
I mean, hell, like I said, like my thing is like, what is the bar? Like, what did you have to exceed as a coach to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? And tell me if Bill Belichick did not get to that. You have a little trouble to do that.
Yeah, I think it was starting to get tight.
And I don't think you can articulate that. You have to say, I think he cheated more than he got caught. And that has to be your reason.
But stand on it. I don't want no anonymous sources. Stand on it.
Yeah, but no one's going to say it because they still want to get interviews with other coaches. And they know other coaches aren't going to. Like, if you are a reporter in Boston and you're a Hall of Fame voter and New England's about to go to the Super Bowl and you want press passes, you want access, you're not going to say you were the guy who didn't vote for Bill Belichick because he was mean to the media.
Well,
you're not going to say that. Not now.
I would hope
not 2 weeks before you go to Santa Clara.
Well, I would hope that if you're that high up on the food chain that you got connects within the Patriots that can get you tickets. I would imagine you got other
not tickets. I'm talking about like being
part of like the exclusives and whatnot.
Getting media, maybe travel with the team, maybe getting access to the team. You know, like you're a beat reporter and they're like, hey, we're gonna take 5 or 6 of you guys with us on the road. You don't want to be the guy to say, "Oh yeah, I didn't vote," or work in the office with a guy that says, "Oh yeah, he didn't vote for Bill Belichick." Now your whole office can't go. Now none of y'all can go. All of you from the Boston Globe, that's cool. Y'all can stay here. We're not going.
It's like Married with Children. Thank your father, kids. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. But it has to. Like, I'm pretty sure that'd be the fallout if they do release this information. I know, like, someone didn't vote for Derek Jeter or Cal Ripken because Babe Ruth didn't get 100% of the vote or something along those lines. I think Babe Ruth didn't get 100%. So it's like there's a few writers that don't vote for guys who are shoo-in Hall of Famers just to keep that going. But I think Mariano Rivera got 100% of his votes. But like I think Derek Jeter got like 98%. I believe who else got like, I think Ichiro got like 98, something like that. But it's always a couple of guys that like don't vote. So, you know, Babe Ruth didn't get 100, so no one else. So I don't know. Yeah, I just find it bizarre considering that this is a meritocracy and he put in the work. And he did it at a level. He did it in a couple of different like
what's up, girl?
Years.
Yeah,
like he did it early in the 2000s where like passing it wasn't heavy. Then he transitioned to that pass heavy offense, made a couple of Super Bowls and that didn't win them, and then came right back, win it again. Now the team, a guy he coached, is not a head coach of the team, got him back to the Super Bowl. So it was like,
right.
I don't know.
We'll figure it out. But like he got to, he got to get in. But I just want somebody to stand on it. I'm all about putting your name on your thoughts and your beliefs. You know what I mean? If I get up here all the time, and granted, I don't have those connections in the media just quite yet. But I don't care how far I make it in the media. I ain't got nothing good to say about Tim Tebow, and I'm going to stand on it. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, we'll be back on Friday. You know, he is the one and only, the world famous, the world renowned, cool, calm, and collected, born in Texas, raised in Virginia, representing New Jerusalem. He said he's going to donate money out of his own pocket to help Rutgers with their $516 million debt. You know what I'm saying?
Recruit number 5 from Northern Burlington, and I'll pay some tuition.
Bang. He is Mr. Logical. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And then, of course, down here in the Alamo is your unorthodox statistician going left so much you thought I was southpaw. Still a little quicker than Manny Pacquiao, but getting a little slower, I admit. I do believe in Joe Hendry. I tell it how it is. You tell it how it might be. I am 2-5. This is Sports Reports as Ordered. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand. We are everywhere you get your podcast. Check out Say Less, Say More as well. And we will see you in a few days. We love y'all so much. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. Sports Reports is Ordered. Out. And this time, Mr. Logical, I'm going to remember to hit the music first.
Hey, gang.
It's about to go down.
Hey!